personal development, but a lot of the time they're using it for activism, which
Yeah.
I know is something that's important to you, and it's
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
me. And so they said, well, we want someone to come in and teach, how to run a social enterprise, what it's like to run a business, because it's about really taking those storytelling skills and grounding it in actually making it a business. So I went there the first year, it's about 5 years ago now, and I rocked up with I'm going to teach them all about business, and I'm going to teach them and impart my skills, and this will be great. And while I did do that, what happened conversely was that they began to teach me about storytelling. And that has had a profound effect on me individually, but also in the way that I now approach my work and the way that we use storytelling and the power of storytelling in our businesses as a way of opening up other people being able to tell their stories as well. All our platforms to do that. So for me, when I see fantastic social media accounts where there is story being employed and therefore other people are being able to tell their stories, that's the best of social media.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what I love. So it's changed my work. 100%,
No, and I think that, there is power also in story and in sharing your story. I mean, even if I look at, I love movies, and my most, the most memorable movies and the movies that I love the most are always the ones based on a true story, because you're like, wow, this really happened, and sometimes sadly so, like, wow, this is a true story, unbelievable, but and it's one of the reasons, it's also why I reached out to you, like why I emailed you back, and I said to you, like, because for me, I was really happy with your email and very touched, because it was for me like, the only reason why I wanted to start a podcast and why it isn't such a big deal for me that I'm not really making money with it yet. I mean, you and I had a business meeting not so long ago, and hopefully one day it will be a bit more, of an income. But for now, I just want to share stories, and I think that there's power in it. In also, and I also am really curious about everyone's stories, and I feel, if you have, and I'm sure you are too, when you are a business coach, is this kind of, your curiosity makes you so open-minded and open-hearted, and it kind of, I'm curious about everyone's story. Like I could interview a plumber for 2 hours as much as I interview you, like
absolutely,
because everyone has a story to tell.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, there's an amazing poem by a Russian poet, I can't remember, but basically the gist of it is that everyone is extraordinary. Every single person on the planet is extraordinary. And I've been with the storytellers before, because one of the things that we have to do over the course of the 3 months is they have to craft their like a biography, like a 2-paragraph. That is often, not only with the storytellers, but also with the business owners I work with, the most difficult thing to do. How do you begin to talk about yourself? And one of the things I hear from the storytellers and from my clients a lot is, I just fell into it. It's not that interesting. I just
It's not.
Let's go deeper. It's always fascinating to me. And often what I will do to try and get into that story is I will take people right back to their childhood. Where did the thread of where you are now start?
But I think that's also a thing, like this kind of belittling ourselves, or seeing that is also, again, something that we take from society, because I get a lot as well when I invite someone, like, really, on your podcast, but I'm not really interesting. I have nothing interesting to say. And then I decide that, I mean, if I invite you, I probably feel that we're going to have an amazing conversation. And usually the guys who say, like, oh, I really don't know, are one of the most interesting, episodes. So it's also one of those things where I feel like, don't make yourself smaller than you are, because, you're not.
And the thing is, again, I would say I work predominantly with women, not exclusively. And and sometimes over the years I've been asked, do you feel it's more appropriate just to work with women? I don't want to exclude anybody from being able to work with me, but I work with predominantly women. And what I have discovered, that often with women, we will do that thing of going, it's no big deal. Or I don't know if anyone's interested, and I'm like, wow, this is fascinating, tell me more, you know, and then they can see how it all fits together. And that's when it becomes really inspiring. And then when you use that aspect of storytelling in your business, that is when people go, I get this person, I understand what they stand for, I understand what their values are. And then you're off and running, you know, then you can start to deepen that connection, and you know, the rest is history, as they say.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Is his her story.
Her story.
The rest is her story. Her story. And so I really love what you said about, you said it was a bit morbid, but you know, to look back when you're really old on your life, you know, like for you, if we think about, you know, you're 80, 90, like how would you be looking back at your life from that perspective? What do you think?
Well, you know, as you know, Caro, because I do practice what I preach, I have obviously taken myself through this exercise.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure you did.
I would like to think that maybe not at 80, but certainly into my 70s, I would really like to think that I would still be coaching, because I also feel that, you know, many of us will not either be able to retire or not want to retire. I can never see myself retiring what I do. But what I want to leave behind is, I want to leave behind a world where everybody looks to the individual small businesses as the example for how we do business, rather than what the space we're in now, where we all look to the corporate and go, oh, okay, that's how it's done. And there's nothing we can do about that. And they're causing problems, but you know, we can't do anything about that. And I would love to see the power balance shifting. I also want to see more young women, empowering more young women to come through and be entrepreneurs and to take up that space. Because, you know, my daughter is 11 now. As I said, my stepdaughter is 28, and I want to see them inhabiting an entrepreneurial space, because I don't think the jobs are going to be there. I think what we need in the world is creative solutions that I think business is going to provide. And so I want to see that, you know, small business is an empowering place for people to be, not them aspiring to do things the way that big business and the corporates do things. And that actually we start to dismantle those corporate practices, you know. They are just too big, and they are causing too many problems. We are trying to address climate change. So it's a big vision. I've got time.
I just want to say, you know, you're only just 50, so years and years and years and years it is. And I think that more people like you, more people who show support for the little guys. And I also believe that it's always, you know, the smaller groups, the organizations that have the success or can actually make and create change. I mean, I've definitely seen that in my activism world and work, and I see that in world. I see that all the time, you know, like it's what I want to be part of, is that change. And, you know, it's really beautiful how you describe it as well, because I love what you said about solving the problems of the big guys, you know. It's like,
and we want to get to the point where we're not just having to solve their problems, you know. We're actually we're not just surviving, we're thriving.
Exactly. That's
the other side of the coin is, well, you know, to use that phrase, is I want to see more rich women in the world. I want to see more rich women, because statistically there is so much evidence out there to show that the power imbalance in terms of who has the money in the world, who has land, who has property, is still predominantly, you know, the pale, stale and male. The old white guys are still, you know, we need to break down that power dynamic. And they have, it's been shown time and time again that when women are empowered financially, it changes community.
That's the thing.
Not that I don't want to see fantastic, you know, purpose-led ethical businesses by guys, you know, I want to see them thriving as well. But I think that the power has been so much of it has been put, the financial power has been put in the hands of,
and it can be a little bit more imbalanced, you know. It's just imbalanced. You know, I mean, I definitely also, I'm all for, you know, success with the brothers, but I think that it is very important to realize it's imbalanced, that power now, and it should be more balanced. And I mean, my coach always says there's enough for everyone.
Really?
And that's something that I also kind of denied for a long time. Like, I always said to myself, and still I can have that little bit, like, I'll never have money, I'll never be successful, I'll never have. And successful, I am already successful in my eyes, just don't have a lot in my bank account, but another type of success. But it is that financial thing that we do also belittle ourselves then and say, no, I'm not good enough, or the work I do is especially as an activist as well, you always do it voluntarily.
Absolutely.
So you're mainly doing it because you want to do it for the good, but who is to say that doing something for the good should not be paid?
Well, I have another mentor that I work with, someone in Australia called Denise Duffield Thomas, who's a very famous author, and I'm part of a kind of mastermind group. And her mantra is, "I serve, I deserve."
Wow, that's amazing.
Why does making money and having purpose and impact have to be separate?
Yeah, exactly.
They need to be together. And the other one is, the more people I help, the more money I make. The more money I make, the more people I help. And it goes round and it goes round.
Yeah, it's the full circle.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's something that resonates with me on a personal level. Having come from the charity sector, there's never enough money to go around. There's never, we're always being told, charities don't get paid. So that was very much my mentality for a very long time, and that will still come up for me again and again. It's still something that I have to work on again and again, because we have such a narrow definition of what success means. It only means financial. So for me, the financial is important, but what I always say to business owners is, I'm interested in your version of success, not society's, not your dad's,
exactly, not your parents.
Your parents. What is your definition of success? For me, the money has to be in there, because otherwise, that poem by Marianne Williamson, "Our playing small doesn't serve."
It doesn't serve the world. No, absolutely not.
Simple as that. So
don't hide. Don't apologize.
You've got to share your gifts. And you deserve to get well paid for your sharing your gifts.
Absolutely. And I love what you said about I serve and I deserve, because for some reason,
that's not one of my. That's Denise's. But
absolutely no. I will. Of course. Dear people, in the show notes, all of it will be in there, because I always listen back, and then I always take all the show notes. So she will definitely be in there. I'll definitely
she's amazing.
Credit everyone you were mentioning, because that's also something that I find really important, is like giving credit where credit needs to be given,
Absolutely.
Where credit, because it's like, it always really bothers me when people don't do that, or they use art from an artist, and it's like, okay, so who's the artist? And credit, give some credit to the artist. But it's another little side note. But no, I definitely think that that's a really beautiful thing to end our episode with, because I think that is something I really was an sort of mind-blowing moment for me as well, of like, oh, so I can also do my activism and eventually, no, because for a long time, for me, it really was, no, I do it for the animals. It's fine. Like people should just give money to the animals. Like, it's fine, But then, of course, if you don't survive, or if you can't eat anymore, then also the animals are not being served,
Exactly.
So, or anything else that you are working for, or even in human rights. I think I've seen the most burnout in the activism.
Yes, I was just about to say and it's one of my. I mean, I know, Cara, we could have another hour's discussion,
and we should have you back for part 2.
We'll do part 2, because I'm a big follower of Extinction Rebellion, and what I worry about is the sustainability of that.
Absolutely.
And so I'm always thinking, well, how is that going to become a sustainable and it'll happen, maybe not quite in the way that they're doing it now, but I applaud what they're doing. But
I think sustainability in the activism world, it would be a lovely podcast. We should definitely
let's do it.
Line it up. But for now, I want to thank you so very much for taking the time to be here with me, and of course for your fan mail. I mean, it really is still like, really, it's so heartwarming, and it really made me smile so much. And I'll make sure that people can find your website and all the show notes, all the things that you were mentioning.